dati svaparantikam vandeham shiguro shiyuta padakamalam shigurun vaishnavamscha. Shri Rupam Sagarachatam Saganat Raghunat Vitam Tam Sujivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Panan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Kopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Prishabhanu Sute Devi Prananami Hari Pre Panchakalpatarubhishta Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So as we begin, beg the blessings of all the devotees. And I heard a great quote 2 days ago. I said the blessings. It was from Rasanath Prabhu via Satchidananda Swami. Maybe it's his quote. I'm not sure whose quote it is. But he said the blessings are the wind behind the sails of ships that push those ships in directions they otherwise wouldn't have went. So I beg the blessings of the devotees to be the wind behind my sails. This verse is a wind behind the sails verse as well, a Vanchakalpa type verse. So let's bring it up. We're 9:465. If somebody wants to correct me on that, that's what I was preparing for. So I believe it's 9:465. And we're discussing Ambarish Maharaj offending Durvasa Muni. I'll bring it up on the screen. I got a yup from Bhakti Center. Daniel, thank you. 9:465, and we will read it together. Yedaragara putrapta pranam vittam imam param hitva mam saranam yatta katam tam tyaktam uchahe. Yea, those devotees of mine who, Dara, wife, Agara, house, Putra, children, sons, Apta, relative society, Pranan, even life, Vitam, wealth, Imam, all these, Param, elevation to the heavenly planets, or becoming one by merging into Brahman, Hitva, giving up all of these ambitions and paraphernalia, Mam, unto me, Sharanam, shelter, Yatha, having taken, Katam, how, Tan, such persons, Tyaktam, to give them up, Utsahe, I can be enthusiastic in that way. It is not possible. Translation, since my pure devotees give up their homes, this is the Lord speaking, since my pure devotees give up their homes, wives, children, relatives, riches, and even their lives simply to serve me without any desire for material improvement in this life or in the next, how can I give up such devotees at any time? Purport, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipped by the words Brahmanaya Devaya, Go Brahmanaya Hitaya Cha. Thus, he is the well-wisher of the Brahmins. Durvasa Muni was certainly a very great Brahmin, but because he was a non-devotee, he could not sacrifice everything in devotional service. Great mystic yogis are actually self-interested. The proof is that when Durvasa Muni created a demon to kill Maharaj Ambarish, the king stayed fixed in his place, praying to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and depending solely and wholly on him. Whereas when Durvasa Muni was chased by the Sudarshan Chakra, by the supreme will of the Lord, he was so perturbed that he fled all over the world and tried to take shelter in every nook and corner of the universe. At last, in fear of his life, he approached Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and ultimately the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was so interested in his own body that he wanted to kill the body of a Vaishnava. Therefore, he did not have very good intelligence. And how can an unintelligent person be delivered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead? The Lord certainly tries to give all protection to his devotees who have given up everything for the sake of serving him. Another point in this verse is that attachment to Dharagara Putrapta, home, wife, children, friendship, society, and love, is not the way to achieve the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who is attached to hearth and home for material pleasure cannot become a pure devotee. Sometimes a pure devotee may have a habit or an attraction for wife, children, and home, but at the same time want to serve the Supreme Lord to the best of his ability. For such a devotee, the Lord makes a special arrangement to take away the objects of his false attachment and thus free him from attachment to wife, children, home, friends, and so on. This is special mercy bestowed upon the devotee to bring him back home, back to Godhead. Okay, some nice verse here. What are we going to say about that, Susan? It's not so easy, right? We start talking about hearth and home. This is a beautiful verse. This is a very famous verse, actually. This verse is famous because it hints at some very deep truths about our sweet Lord. And when these truths are revealed about our sweet Lord, we should all be dancing in glee at the fact that we know that what type of person this our sweet Lord is, that he's always attached to those that are attached to him, and that there's always going to be reciprocation there. We often say that we give our attention away. Through the course of the day, we give our attention freely. I know Vaisheshika Prabhu often speaks about the power of our attention, the currency of our attention, and how that it's really the only asset that we have, is that we can direct our attention in certain ways. And we give our attention freely to things that really aren't worthy of our attention. We give it to this device on a regular basis, which is controlled by literally billions and billions of dollars to keep us placing our attention, which is not the best place for that attention to go. And when we give it to somebody that's worthy of our attention, something very special happens. There's deep reciprocation. And so the Lord is saying in this verse, he's saying, he's speaking almost in a negative. How could I possibly give up such devotees? It's amazing that you would even, ask for shelter from me when this person, this Ambarish Maharaj, is so close to me. He's actually where? In the core of my heart. I'm not sure if we got to that part of this, but he says, my devotees are in the core of my heart. And so we start to see the connection between the devotees and the Lord, and how coming together with the devotees of the Lord is as good, if not even greater, than coming together with the Lord. And we start to see the intimacy that's here. The Lord says, listen, these devotees, they live in the core of my heart. They've given up everything. So in one sense, we've heard before on many different places that an offense even to the Lord, by the Lord's perspective, is excusable, but an offense to his devotee is inexcusable. And the difference is, somebody brushes your shoulder, you're walking down the street, somebody brushes your shoulder, they hit your shoulder, or it's an offense. It's a little bit offensive. Hey, what are you doing? You hit the outer part. But if somebody shoots an arrow into the core of your heart, that's a different experience. So the Lord is saying, this is an arrow. You've shot an arrow into the core of my heart by offending this great devotee. He's given up everything for me, and you're expecting me to excuse you. It's not the way that it works. And so we learn in this pastime the power of making better choices. As we can learn something along those lines, the power of the love that the Lord has in the devotees, we also learn the power of making smart choices. Now, Durvasa Muni didn't make a smart choice because he was motivated by anger. You don't have to put your hands up, because I know each and every one of us has made a bad decision motivated by anger. It's not something we're proud of, but it's something that happens. And sometimes it's not even that we're motivated by anger. Sometimes we make bad decisions, as Durvas was, because we're motivated by also envy. And when we make decisions when we're motivated in that way, we end up causing a lot of trouble for ourselves. We really make ourselves much more entangled. And it causes a real problem because we're not sure how to get out of it. And there's a part of us that knows how to get out of it, but it's just a little bit, it's almost too painful. And we see in this pastime, the fire that the Lord was pressing. We've all felt this Sudarshan chakra on us in certain ways. When we do something foolish and we're going in the wrong direction, and the Lord is putting his mercy upon us, and we know we have to change something. When the fire of that gets so strong that it overcomes the fire of what we know we need to do. In this case, Durvasa is going to be directed, you go and surrender to Ambarish. You go and do the best yoga posture of all time, Dandavat. You go and give your Dandavats to him. He knew he had to do something like that, but you see, he went literally everywhere else in the universe before he had to do that. But then when the pain of that chakra got too much, that it cut through the pain of his ego, his false ego of making the surrender to the devotee, then he went and did it. And a devotee says, well, why do I have to experience that strong chakra when I know that if I've made an offense to a devotee, I should just go and humble myself. Janata Pisuniche na. So there's many stories of this. There's many examples of this. And I'm going to tell you a story called the peach pie story. Has anybody ever heard of the peach pie story? It's a very famous story in the Bhakti Center. It comes from our Ganesham Das, the peach pie story. Ganesham was serving Radhanath Maharaj in Philadelphia, and he was driving with him, and they had to go to DC the next day. And as it happens when you serve great souls, a lot of people, it might be the only time that they see Radhanath Maharaj, or the only time they see a great soul, when once a year, perhaps. And so there's a big program. And what happened was they after the program, there was a bunch of people that came, and they brought a peach pie. One of the items that was offered was a peach pie. And they're really happy, and they came to Ganesham, and they said, Ganesham, please give this to Maharaj. I need you to give this to Maharaj. And he said, yes, of course, no problem. We're going to do that. But there was many other items. So, you can imagine he's got all kinds of items. He's walking around, and he's going back to his, where they were staying that night. And they woke up in the morning, and the host cooked an amazing breakfast. And they were actually going to DC to have lunch, but breakfast was at 10 o'clock. So they have this huge breakfast. They're going to lunch at 12 o'clock. Yeah, this is not a good situation. And then he's got some pies from last night, and he's thinking, oh God, what am I going to do about all this stuff? And so he's getting in the car ready to go. They had this huge breakfast. In 2 hours, they got to be in DC, and they're going to have another lunch. And he's looking, and there's 2 pies, because the host said, take this pie with you. What am I going to take this pie with me? I'm going to a place that they're going to feed us. Okay. So what he does is he takes a portion of the second pie and just says, peach pie, be gone. I'm not going to be taking you with me. We're going to have prasad. I'm just going to leave that peach pie there. So he gets in the car, and they get in there. They got all the prasad. They have all this stuff, and they're driving. And it's a silent drive. Sometimes you got to understand the moods. So it's a silent drive, and nothing's being said. And After about an hour, it's a 2-hour drive, and after about an hour and 45 minutes, Radhanath Maharaj says, do you have that peach pie? Ganesham, of all the things to say, right? He's thinking, oh God, do I have the peach pie? Oh, now this is something that we all go through when we make a bad decision. What are you going to say at this point? Are you gonna defend yourself? Are you gonna what's the story that's gonna come out of your heart? And so he looks at Mirage and he goes, Mirage, I'm really sorry, but I just felt like I didn't need to bring the peach pie because we're gonna go and eat. And he stopped him right away. He said, this person waits an entire year to give me this peach pie. I need to accept this peach pie. They put their heart, they put their devotion. I need to accept this peach pie on the behalf of the Lord. What were you thinking? And Kanasham, oh no, I don't know what I was thinking. I'm not sure what I was thinking. I'm a fool. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. No other words are exchanged. So they get to the program. It's DC. It's, they go through the whole program thing, and they have the meal, and then they have a program that night. That night at the program, the Mataji from Philadelphia shows up. First thing she says, did he like the peach pie? Ganesham, oh God. Now, and he said, at that point, he said, oh, he's taking care of Mirage. So he tried to stall. He said, oh yeah, 1 second. I'll get back to you on that one. I got a few things I got to take care of, hoping that maybe he doesn't run into her again. He's not sure. After a little bit, there she comes again. How did he like the peach pie? Oh, okay. Mataji, he owns it. He owns it. Mataji, I'm very sorry. It was really stressful. There was a few different things that were going on. I left the peach pie at the house. I'm very, very sorry. And she is heartbroken. Heartbroken. Oh, tears coming from her eyes. This is my offering once a year. What are you doing? She doesn't say anything. She just walks away. Later on that night, Ganasham's with Mirage, and it's on his heart. You want to talk about a chakra on the heart? You want to talk about some heat? It's on the heart. And he goes to Mirage. He says, Mirage, I don't know. I feel terrible. He says, I don't know what to say. I saw the Mataji who cooked the pie, and I had to tell her that I didn't get the peach pie. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to rectify this situation? Mirage really soberly, calmly, he says, you go to her and you pay your full dandavat and you beg her forgiveness. Do not delay. Do not delay. So he gets up, he's going, and she's helping to cook something for the next day in the kitchen. Ganesham runs. This is the quality of a great devotee. He runs into the kitchen. Kitchen, we all know the kitchen. Water spraying everywhere. It's a little dirty on the floor usually sometimes. It's a mess. In the kitchen, full dandavats. Everybody's going, what is wrong with this guy? Full dandavats. Mataji, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I should have brought the pie for you. I'm so sorry. Full surrender. And now she's just a sweet person. She picks up Ganesham. She says, oh, I'm so sorry. Right back to him. I'm so sorry. She said, it was just very stressful for me that he didn't get the pie. But then she said something that was really amazing. She said, the thing is, after you told me that you didn't get the pie, I started to remember that when I was serving Bhakti Tirtha Swami, I did that to someone and I didn't tell him about it. And she says, how can I hold you accountable when I did that to my spiritual master? She says, you are fully forgiven. She blessings on the head to Ganesham. You're fully free. I fully forgive you for this moment. And they hugged, embraced, and it was all done. But this is the power of the devotees and the Dandavat and the blessings and how all of this works in real time. The peach pie, it's a modern day Durvasa story where you make a bad decision out of tension, out of what you think is right, out of your decisions, and then you get corrected. And do you have the humility? Do you have the strength of heart to allow yourself to be rectified? Placing yourself at a devotee's mercy. You'll accept me or you won't. But trying to please the Lord in that. I want to make this devotee happy. I'm sorry for my offense. I am very, very sorry for my offense. Or do you run? And we don't necessarily have to physically run like Durvasa did. Now, Durvasa was amazing, wasn't he? He went to the top of, he couldn't just run on the land. He ran in the sky. He went to the top of a mountain. He went to the middle of the caves. He went down to the bottom of the ocean. It's like, what? To the bottom of the ocean? And he was still feeling the heat. So it's a great lesson for us because we don't run necessarily physically. Although maybe if we've made an offense, we try to keep our physical distance from a devotee, but we run mentally. And our mental running is our how we make rationalizations about our actions. We mentally rationalize, well, it was this situation. I don't need to apologize because I'm like this and they're like this and this is how it goes and this is how life is. We make mental rational. We run all over the place, so we don't have to deal with, what's in our heart, and what's at the core of our heart is a quality that gets pulled out in this pastime. And the quality is there's envy sitting there that needs to be it needs to be rectified by the Lord. So Durvasa had envy in his heart, and immediately he made a bad decision. He felt tension, and he just immediately took out the hair. Boom! He made a bad decision. And the Lord says something very interesting. He says, because of your envy for yourself. So you're envious of who? Well, who's in the core of every living being's heart? It's the Lord. So he's envious of himself, meaning he's envious of the Lord in his heart. And when we do that, whenever we try to hurt any living being, there's envy in the heart for the Lord. And so this pastime is such an instructive pastime. And it's so applicable to us because we go through this on a regular basis. And maybe we don't, we're not consciously trying to offend devotees or even consciously trying to offend other living entities, but we're always put in a precarious situation. And usually when we're in a precarious situation, we'll call up. It's hard for us to go to the Lord. It's hard for us to go to our spiritual master. So we got to be careful that we don't call up the people that validate our choices. Sometimes we have that person on speed dial that we know is going to validate our choice. That was really, and you're right with that. Because the pressure that comes from the outside needs to be one of purification. There's a great story from the Old Testament. Any Old Testament fans out there? There's a great story from the Old Testament where Saul and David, the story of King Saul and David. Saul is very powerful king, and basically, long story short, David's supposed to be the next in line. And it's not that different than this story in a certain way, because Saul is he's very powerful, and he's got an army of 3,000 people, and they're trying to find David because they want to kill him. And and they go through the desert, and they're in their caravan. They're looking for Saul, who's hiding in a cave. He's just hiding in a cave. And then what happens is they stop because Saul has to go to the bathroom. The call of nature, right? When you're the king and you have to go to the bathroom, the whole army has to stop. So everybody stops and they're waiting for him to finish his business. He goes up into a cave. Lo and behold, he goes into the cave of who? Who's sitting in the cave? David and his friends are sitting in the cave. Now, this is the same situation where David and his friend, and they're thinking, God, God's doing this. It was a prophecy before. You're going to be the king and it will be given to you. Saul's here, kill the guy. He came right to you. Isn't it? He came to you. See how God's fulfilling these deeper desires. He's fulfilling his prophecy. Go kill him, David. So he takes out his dagger and he's thinking, that's a good idea. And he's walking over towards him as he's using the restroom. And he's thinking, there's a tension inside my heart. I don't know where that's coming from, isn't it? He's thinking there's something going on in me. This chakra, this pressure, this wheel of the Lord. There's something going on in my heart. I can't put my finger on, but his friends in the background, right? Get him, get him. Because they're also self-interested at this point. They've been in exile for years. They, God, finish this. I want to get out of caves, for crying out loud. Get this done with. Just kill this guy. And so then David's approaching him, but he takes just the moment. Imagine Dravas takes a few moments before he tries to hurt Ambarish. He doesn't take any moments. And David just takes a few moments as he's walking towards him to think about, well, what is this? What kind of decision am I about to make? Am I going to be known as the guy that killed Saul when he was going to the bathroom? Is that going to be my legacy? Or am I looking for the mercy of the Lord? Am I looking that if it's meant to be, it's really meant to be, and nothing can stop the Lord from fulfilling his plans? And so he does something really interesting. He cuts off his robe, part of his robe that was hanging on the floor, and then he walks back to his friends, and his friends are thinking, you idiot. Why did you do that? You had your chance. All you had to do was just stab him right there. He was done. That's it. That's all you had to do. Why didn't you take advantage of it? Saul goes out of the cave, and then David out of nowhere walks out of the cave, and he says, basically everybody looks at him and he says, I could have killed you, but I didn't. And what happens there is this transference where everybody knows who this David is. Everybody knows his character, and they had proper etiquette at that point. Saul knew he couldn't kill him in front of everybody now, even though they were looking for him, because he spared his life, and they went back about their business. And later on, Saul ends up getting killed, and he might even, I can't remember how he died, but anyway, he ends up leaving this world, and then they immediately appoint David. So it happens by the will of the Lord, and that's what's going on here. The will of the Lord's always acting, and it behooves us to make decisions, not these quick decisions. I know Arjuna Prabhu would always tell me, nothing too quick. Don't do anything too quick. You don't have to do anything too quick. Just be at ease, right? Are we going to go here? Are we going to do this? What's your next step? We make so many fast decisions, and a lot of times without listening to that tension that's in our heart, there's a lot of problems. We may say something, and I've had the experience, I know, at the Bhakti Center, saying something that I didn't even know. I didn't even know that could be offensive. And then coming by a devotee week after week, month after month, there's something off here. What's going on? And then having a nice discussion with the devotee. Well, actually, you said this, and that really hurt. I didn't know. I'm sorry, right? I didn't know. Forgive me. I wasn't aware of that. If I would have been aware of it, I'm sorry. And so we do that the best. It's really the best yoga posture. We do a dandavat. We pay our respects to the devotee so that we can start to understand that amazing love that's flowing from the Lord. I mean, this love it's just so deep. It's so precious. It's so valuable. And who's standing in our way besides our own selfishness, our own envy? So this idea that we make these decisions and we do them very, very fast, as Dravas did, and then we run. We don't want to be implicated with our own decisions. It's an age-old situation. It's happening to us all the time. And coming back to the philosophy, this simple act of Trinadapi Sunichena, the simple act of, well, let me drop my guard here. Let me understand who I am. Let me humble myself before another. the anger, the ego, we're drinking poison. We're drinking poison, and we're expecting other people to die, and we're expecting the other person to suffer, and it's really, really a painful situation. I have one more story to tell, and I'll close up. And it's a very personal story, but it also illustrates this point. At one point in my life, my father and I had a very difficult time in our relationship, to the point that we even got in a bit of a physical altercation. And the interesting thing that happened during the physical altercation was, this was a long time ago. This was before cell phones and all that, or at least was it before? It wasn't before cell phones, but it was definitely before smartphones. But I used to have a little recorder, because I was always taking voice notes. So I used to have this little recorder in my pocket. And during the course of that, the recorder magically, mystically turned on. If you can believe that. I don't know how it turned on. I have no idea. It turned on. And after that exchange, we took a break from talking to each other for some time. So what happened was, I was driving through, and I'll never forget, I was driving through the Ozarks of Missouri, in the middle of nowhere. And I just saw in the car, in the little console, there's that recorder. And I just started, well, what were some thoughts that I've been having over the last year? And I start playing them. And then I hear this rustling. And then I start hearing the sound. I was, oh my, is that when we got now? And so I'm listening very attentively to this. And out of nowhere, this voice comes in the middle of, I didn't hear it at the time. But I heard it in the recording. It was a very, very powerful reminder. So my dad was there, and his wife was there. And his wife says in the recording and in real time, which I didn't hear, she said these simple words. She said, "Don't you have forgiveness of sins?" And I heard it in the recording, and I thought, oh my God, that's, when truth comes, a lot of times we don't like truth when it doesn't come from the right source, right? But when truth comes, truth is going to come. It's just how it's going to work. God can work in so many mysterious ways. I said, she's speaking truth. She spoke truth right at the right time, the right place. Don't you have forgiveness of sins? Don't you have forgiveness of sins? And it was so powerful for me. I said, let me listen to this one more time. I'm going to delete this recording, and then I'm going to do what's needed to be done. I'm going to go and ask for forgiveness. Actually, I'm not going to wait until somebody else does it. I'm going to go and do that. So I listened to it one more time, let it sink in, let it touch the heart, deleted it. And then in a short period of time, turned the car around, just canceled all my plans and went back to ask forgiveness. And it's something, sometimes, forgiveness is something that it's God-given. And we have to know that it's not something that we can just plan and we can just do. And now I've forgiven you, and that's how it goes. My father also reciprocated in a very deep way with me at that point. But it's something that God's always pushing us, that Krishna's always asking us to do, is to really reach for that forgiveness and really reach and extend that forgiveness, because this is his heart. And the closer we want to become to him, the closer that we have to share that. He wants all of us to live in harmony. He wants all of us to work together. He wants all of us to give up this I'm in the center mentality. And he gives us ample opportunities to do it. Our pride, our ego keeps us from having that experience. But if you've ever had that experience, there's nothing like it. The tears will flow. The heart will open. The love and the appreciation for all living beings, especially those, that whoever has offended us, quote unquote, or whoever has given us problems, we'll see their greatness. We'll see their greatness in the journey of purification, we'll see how they were really an instrument in our lives. Obviously, it takes time, but it's something it's very powerful. And so this pastime really displays a lot of that. And it's easy to do it when it may not be easy, but it seems easier to do it when it's a powerful personality like Ambarish Maharaj, who's a great devotee. But, it also can be done in a very deep way when it's somebody who's quote unquote not a great deep devotee. They've been placed in your path for a very specific reason, and we should honor them as such. So I'm going to stop there. We have about 3 or 7 minutes left. Any questions, reflections on on this? I purposely stayed a little bit away from the Grihasta stuff because I don't have full realization of that at the very end of this verse. But I do know the principle of the brahmacharis and the deep realization Prabhupada's sharing there, and how the brahmacharis and the grihastas need to work together to inspire and enliven each other. So those are my few thoughts. Thank you so much for listening, and any thoughts or questions or reflections, I'm happy to hear.
Giridhari Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
It's wonderful to hear, to see and hear you. I was secretly hoping that you would share some Grihastha nectar, but you purposely refrain from that here at the morning program. Thank you so much for coming on. Thanks for that story, the Pice story and the recorded story. The stories, they sink in with me nicely.
Well, thank you, Ananda Bihari. Yeah, sorry I shied away from it, but like I said, I don't have anything good to share or realizations to share besides my appreciation for Prabhupada's, his personal experience, obviously, and then it's the reason that we need sannyasis. It's the reason we need a renounced order, is to always keep us focused. And as grihastas, our appreciation for the renounced order should just blossom day after day after day. And in the same way, that reciprocation can be there, because as we respect each other, we both orders of society make great progress. I know I need to hear it, Ananda Bihari. I know I need to hear it on a daily basis. Thank you.
Haribol Jai.
Hey, Hare Krishna, Jamuna Jaya.
I just want to say thank you for class. My camera is always off because I teach right after this. So I'm actually always doing asana as I listen. And it was such a powerful reminder when you said Dhanavad most powerful asana. And so I hit the ground thinking of Ganeshan in the kitchen with the peach pie, which is my favorite kind of pie, by the way. But it was just that's what I love that this time always comes when I'm getting ready to teach my students, and I always feel like I'm filling my body with it. And so this was just such a powerful gift that I will now hopefully take and give to the people who view my class in a couple minutes. So thank you so much. Beautiful class.
Thank you. The best of all yoga poses, Dandavats. Yeah. Thanks, Jamuna.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me, Prabhu?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavats.
You really made a very good point there, that we're called upon to forgive others and to ask for forgiveness. There's actually two components there. And if we don't forgive others, it's not acting like a devotee. And the interesting thing Srila Prabhupada said one time was, if someone offends you, that's their ignorance. But if you take it as offense, that's your ignorance. So in one sense, humble as in the great blade of grass, more tolerant, devoid of all sense of fault, ready to offer all respects to others, expecting none in return. Kind of an interesting posture to take, so that we can actually be in the proper consciousness to chant the holy name unconditionally. And about this very heavy mentioning of giving up wife, children, and that form of renunciation, Srila Prabhupada didn't destroy his family or reject them. He expanded his family. So the person in the renounced order of life, even like in the Catholic tradition, everybody in the parish calls the priest father. That he's considering not just this, my wife, my kid, but he's considering everyone. Samasavesha Bhuteshu, that he's expanding his care. He's not throwing anyone in the garbage, but he's not distinguishing that I only take care of this person because they're related to me by blood, Yeah. So we want to understand that we're not giving up, rejecting family members, but we're rejecting the idea that only this one, and we want to dedicate it. We want to give up our family by saying we're caring on Krishna's behalf. We're caring for these people that Krishna has put in our care. We're helping them spiritually. Anyway, just a few thoughts. All glory to Prabhupada.
Thank you. They're always full of deep realization. Thank you, Adi.
Just repeating my spiritual master.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you, Prabhu.
Nice to see you.
Theodore.
Yeah. Yes. Glorious. Look at everyone. Hare Krishna, everyone. Well, thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Rukmina. I'm looking at the chat. Henry he's going to beg forgiveness from several. We do, isn't it? Yeah, it's great. Well, thank you. It's 8:00, and I'm very grateful to have spent this time with you. Unless somebody else has anything that they'd like to share, I beg your blessings. It seems as if for the New York bossies out there, it seems as if Sham, little baby Jai, and myself. Hey, Sham, is Jai up? Yes. It seems like we're also going to be able to come to New York at the end of May. So we're going to stay for a few days at the end of May. And so we want to see you all. Hey, Jai, you want to come here? Just eating, so. Oh, he's just eating. So he's got a little bit on his mouth. Come here, Baba.
Say hi, baby.
Hi, Baba. He's cleaning right now.
Haribo. Say Haribo.
Say Haribo. Come on, get the blessings of all the Vaishnavas. We need it. Can you grab him? Can you hold him?
Yeah. There he is.
He's doing a little Swiffer. You want a Swiffer? Okay, you can see him. He's doing his work. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Take care, everybody. Hare Krishna. Bye. Say bye.
Okay.